Right. Enough about Star Wars. Enough already, I say. Oh, must be time for a new episode of Rebels. Oh, don't tell Will. Shh, it's a secret.
What's happening?
What?
I don't belong into the Star Wars universe here.
There's something that's been on my mind that I need to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you have a cucumber here?
Well, because I just found it in the middle of the living room, and I just thought
you thought you'd bring it on the podcast.
you thought at it, right?
What?
And we could just
you're replacing your face with a cucumber right now.
We could just discuss,
video.
Question number one: why is it in plastic, right? Why would they take perfectly fine cucumber?
It keeps longer.
And wrap it in plastic.
And people don't take bites out of it. You can imagine the gypsies are so hungry that they just see it.
But they sell normal cucumbers without plastic.
Sorry?
They also sell normal.
Well, it'll keep for longer, won't it? I mean, it won't be exposed to the elements, and it's more hygienic because you don't get people's hands touching it.
And you think they don't touch them when they pick them and wash them?
Well, I'm saying but after the plastics on them, you can be sure that the hygienic process is you don't have to worry about it because it's sealed at that point, right?
It's still
you don't have to.
It's just so much plastic. I mean.
Well, what do you mean? Wait. You just dismissed the whole hygiene issue as it's silly.
Because you can take a bloody cucumber and wash it. There goes hygiene for you.
No, but it's not about your hygiene. It's about the hygiene in the process of that point after it gets packaged to when you buy it, right?
Yeah, but who cares what those people touched and that they touched the cucumber?
Everybody cares. You just hit me with. You just hit me with the cucumber. Why did you do that?
Cucumber and I can wash it myself. So all the hands that have been touching it in the process are gonna be washed off it.
Look, do you want more contamination or less contamination in the process?
Want less plastic. This plastic probably leaks
into
the cucumber.
You're not being logical.
So it's probably more contaminated by the plastic being on it.
It's not good. There's nothing leaking out of that plastic. The plastic is there.
How about BPA? How do you know there's no BPA in the plastic?
What?
How do you know there's no BPA in the plastic?
Hello, plastic. Is there any BPA in there?
Probably
nope.
See? BPA makes plastic harder. But never mind. It doesn't matter.
See,
no, I don't like plastic cucumbers.
Look, it probably makes the whole quality of the product better. Otherwise, they wouldn't. Do you think that the company would invest in putting plastic and sealing all these pieces of cucumber and vegetables if it didn't have some positive result?
It probably keeps longer. That means that they can pick it like 3 months ago, right? So there's probably no vitamins left in it. Okay, so you have no idea how fresh this is because the plastic preserves it. And secondly, it's probably just marketing for people like you who think that it's more hygienic to buy a bloody cucumber in plastic rather than buying a normal cucumber.
I don't think it's marketing. I think it's health. I think it's actually a relatively good move to preserve. Like I was watching this production. I was watching this production video last week of
chicken livers.
You've got this thing about weird foods, haven't you?
Yes.
No, because I was working with the client who has a chocolate factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at different countries, and what do people buy the most in terms of biscuits and chocolate and things, and how is it marketed and advertised? And we went through a couple of like short documentaries about the production of certain sweets and chocolate, and we were looking at the factories and thinking there was obviously no hygiene in some of the factories. It was frightening, right? And that people working in the factories were touching the products with their bare hands, and you don't want that if you're going to be putting something in your mouth.
No,
right?
you don't.
So there's a certain level of hygiene that needs to be kept, and I think that this area of plastic is.
I think.
Say something. Is that what that means?
Might have not turned off the rice.
Oh, is that what the sound of chaos in the kitchen might be?
It could be. It could be the sound of flames.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, there you go. It's important to turn off the things that are running through the kitchen when you are doing a podcast. No, is that not correct? Yes, it is. You are right. You are right. You are very right.
You're talking to yourself again.
Yeah, I just realized that I want because I changed my I changed the way that I'm using fake book. There will be a need during the next podcast to share the link to the live podcast instantly. But afterwards, we've been doing it live, right? And then sharing the link to the live podcast afterwards. Yeah. Okay, it's now that process is now changed. We now need to share the live link I can't say it, as it is happening. And I should have had that all prepared and set up.
You could have told me, so I could have my computer here and actually do that with my thing.
Well, look, you just ran away to the kitchen. Why don't you
run away to grab my computer?
Why don't you hop, skip, and jump over there?
Okay.
In your ballet style, and we can do that as well, so that at least we have the experience of doing it like that today, because it's all about experimentation and experience. Yeah.
I'm back here, people, but I have to look at my computer, so I'm going to be kind of out of the picture.
That's really unprofessional. You're either in or you're out. There is no.
Well, I'm sorry. You asked me to do stuff with my computer, and now you're
either in or you're out.
I'm both.
Get out.
My sound is in. That's the most important thing.
What?
My sound is the most important thing.
Wish I could turn it off sometimes. I really do.
No, you can't.
Oh. So, for those unfamiliar with the other work, the real work that is going on. For those unfamiliar with the real work that is going on.
What real work? Who's working?
How do I get the URL? How do I get the URL of the live broadcast?
You copy it.
Yes, but I can't because I'm recording through Facebook, and do
you want me to send it to you?
You're going to send it to me in a PM through Facebook?
Yes.
Well, that would be very sensible.
Ooh.
That would be very sensible to send that in a private message through Facebook there.
Ooh.
There.
Am I going to be sensible? Yes, sir, I am. Done.
Done. Okay.
Look. Hi, people. I'm in. Okay. All of me. Not just the audio, but the beautifully charming video as well.
Look, I can't. It won't give me an option to.
What? It won't give you an option
no,
to
it won't give me an option to copy it now.
What do you mean?
It won't let me copy the link. It won't let me copy the link. Look, are you?
Do you have a keyboard? Which one? Stop.
No, see, every time I go to click on copy, it disappears.
Oh, for crying out sake!
Do you have a keyboard? What do you think that is
this
under
is
the monitor?
Keyboard. Okay.
What other keyboard is there? Shall I pull one out of my?
Please, can you blue it?
Blue it.
Yes.
Can I blue it? Is that actually a real term?
Look.
Try not to knock anything over.
Control C. Where do you want me to paste it for you, love?
Paste it.
Jeepers, these men. They have absolutely no computers skills whatsoever.
Well, I'd like you to do it here.
Look. Ah, we're back.
We're back. We were frozen for a second.
Where did you want to paste it?
This is insane. It's not letting me do it. It's not letting me touch anything on the computer.
Oh, please.
No, this is real. This is really happening right now. This is what I have to deal with. No, not yet.
Why not?
You have to wait till it starts flashing.
It is flashing.
It's flashing now, you see.
Control V. Ta-da! Yeah. You're the only person in the universe I know who does the copying and pasting with the left mouse button.
Wait, one.
With the right mouse button.
Well, that's because Some of us are further ahead than other ones of us.
No, that's not ahead. That's the other way.
What?
That's the other way. The keyboard shortcuts are much more faster.
Much more faster.
And much less
Like
fiddlier.
your grammar.
Yes.
Look, I pressed I pressed the return key and
What return key?
oh, never mind. There's a dog. Oh dear. Now they call it enter. Oh, there you go. You didn't know that the enter key was originally called the return key on a keyboard. No.
That's how much forward you are, right? You call things names that were invented like 100 years ago.
I called it by its real name.
No, that's an old name that nobody uses other than 60-year-old blokes hanging around the computer cafes playing Warcraft.
Yeah, but those people are just weird. What? 60-year-old blokes don't play Warcraft. They don't even know what Warcraft is. I don't even know what Warcraft is. What is Warcraft?
You don't know? Oh my god.
I don't know.
Never mind.
I don't know.
The World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Does anybody play that? Is
Yeah.
that just computers playing against each other?
No.
Huh?
It's actually people.
I hate doing this. I hate having to focus on the technology instead of focusing on what I'm saying.
Anyway,
It's such a pain.
I am going to be very social. And I'm going to say
Because
things
you
while you're focusing on the
have to talk
technology.
about all the parenting stuff.
But I'm
Because when
sure-
I'm doing all the technical stuff, I cannot do all the technical
Yeah,
stuff.
well, I had
and
to
talk
help
about-
you there because you were obviously stuck with the copying and pasting with your right freaking button.
What is it? Control V.
Control C is copy, Control V is paste.
You know what's weird about that?
No.
Why the fuck is V paste?
Because
When
it's from
we're-
Slovak, as in vložiť. The whole
Oh,
world
that's
is
just-
using Slovak keyboard shortcut.
Yeah, well, that's obviously not true. That's obviously not true, right?
Bingo.
Because Slovaks don't leave the world anything except podvod, right? At which they are very good, and that's the reason why the future of this country will crumble into nothing as people sell their children into economic slavery. Oh, sorry, was I boring you there? Because the truth is rather tedious from time to time, isn't it? Okay.
Anyway, yes, you might
What?
want to use computer shortcuts much faster.
You know, why is it V? How completely illogical
Because
is
it's
that?
next to the C. X is cut out, C is copy, V is paste.
I
They're
used to-
right next to each other.
I used to live next to the sea.
Can I call you V?
That was
Because
a
G-
really bad science fiction film.
G lives next to the F. on
What?
H. So G lives next to the
My
F
initials
or
are
H.
next to each other on the keyboard. Is that
Yeah.
cool?
It's extremely cool.
Gah.
It's like some kind of weird onomatopoeia. We should start talking about something.
Yeah. Well, as we're planning to do some interviews. Interviews.
And I'm so looking forward to it because I'm going to talk to these people for the first time in my life.
Right. Well, I'll get the mask ready.
It's just, you know, it's really I'm kind of jittery.
You're jittery about talking to people over the internet.
Yes,
Why?
Because these are all great people that I virtually like. And
You don't mean that. You don't mean virtually like. You mean really like.
no, I like them in the virtual world, the virtual reality. You know? And
What you want to say is you know them through the internet and you haven't had a chance to communicate
it means that
face to face
we're not
with them.
we're not really real friends because we've never talked to each other. But I think we share a lot of views in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite curious to see how they do it in parenting as well.
Well, I think it's true for a lot of people that look, let's change the perspective. As an authority figure on this subject, not. Here's my issue. My
Okay.
issue is
Yes, issues.
all of these people that
Mhm.
do presentations about parenting
Mhm.
never show themselves at home with their families doing peaceful parenting, right? All of these things are done in professional environments and through webcams cats, web
Webcats.
web.
Through webcats. That is really disturbing.
Well, it's like the web for cats, right? I mean, like you got internet for people, it's internet for cats. Webcats. Webcats.com. Is your cat lonely? Does your cat want to meet other cats? Use our site. Meow.
You know that could actually work.
It would.
As
It
a
would because
business plan.
it would because these people go out and they leave their cats at home and they can't be with them all day and they feel bad about the cat, so they just stick on their big monitor.
It would probably work for breeding. You know, like choose a proper
Well,
breeding
no,
cat
they'd
for your
end
cat.
up you'd end up with a messy screen.
Through the internet. You could look up cats like a.
What are you gonna do? Show them porn?
No, you're just being really weird.
You all right there? It's a bit of pain.
A bit of pain.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you not play with the cables, please? For God's sake!
I cannot.
If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. Oh, what? What?
It's just the accent.
What?
It just cracks me up.
I
I'm also in pain.
don't even know what accent that was.
I mean, me neither. That's why it's so funny.
Just random accent generator.
Old man without teeth or something.
Random accent generator. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, probably from Asia somewhere, right?
Probably. Yeah.
What are we talking about? Don't know. Everything got derailed by the animals. So
Yes, the
great business
You were
ideas.
saying that people never do parenting podcasts out of their family environment.
I think they never do. The only person who's ever provided a window into their real work is Dayna Martin, right? Who's done some, the radical unschooling guru, who's way over the edge, but
The one
at
with
the same
new,
time,
the new chest.
yeah, new chest, yes. The one with the daughter who makes zombies in her free time. So as Lewis House would say, it's all good, but he do it in an American accent, California, which always freaks me out when he goes, it's all good, and I'm thinking, it's not. It's not. There are issues there that need to be dealt with. When you're interviewing people who say that the spirits of dead gurus are talking through them, and you're sitting there going, it's all good. It's like, no, it's scary.
It's probably his mantra so that he doesn't get too shit scared, right? It's probably just telling it to himself and saying it out loud.
Yeah, probably.
You know?
Anyway, I have to catch up with those podcasts because as frustrating as he is, his interviews are still probably the best podcast interviews that
Who is that?
Lewis House.
Okay.
Just because he's
the masculinity person?
yes,
Okay.
the mask of femininity.
It's the masculine.
Yes.
I just shared an article, funny use of language, which said, why is Muay Thai good for females? Just thought that, saying females.
You mean the martial art?
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because people might have thought you were speaking backwards there. Okay.
Why is the Thai boxing good for females? And I just thought, why don't they just write women, right? Why do they use a female?
You can't. But you can't.
Female what?
No, but you can.
Female horses?
But wait, they're going to ban those words because they can't choose woman because it's got man in it, right? And you can't choose female because it's got male in it, right? So.
Oh no, they're probably just going to ban them because they're too gender specific.
What the hell is gender specific? What the hell is that?
Oh wait, what did I?
Next you're going to get
learned a new
word.
Wait, heteronorma. What was it?
Supermarket.
Heteronormativism or heteronormalization,
atmospheric pressurism.
I don't know what it was, but it was like a really weird word, and I was thinking,
Well, when you start to attack the language, you start to attack everything, because the language is the base of communication. So when people can't use, so that's why it's really important to be able to use all words that you want to use all of the time. Not only is it free speech, not only do you have to have this ability to use language to offend people, it's really important. And because if you don't, you end up scared to use words, and what happens is people start to limit language, and there's no end. Once you start limiting language, there's no end to it.
This is what really bothers me, okay? It doesn't bother me that much. It doesn't bother me that
much, she said.
It doesn't bother me when people are tolerant, right? It doesn't bother me when they tolerate the LGBTI community or support them. It doesn't bother me when they support.
Legit, you've got to be in it. Sorry.
For whatever else, support whatever you want. But when they start kind of back attacking people who don't agree with them, it's like
the amount of
backwards.
Yes, I agree.
It turned backwards.
The amount of doublethink, which I really need to get round to finishing my book, because there's a whole chapter in my book on doublethink, right? About how, I know that I'm guilty of projection, but I know that other people don't know that they're guilty of projection. And welcome to the things you know, and the things you don't know, and the things you know, and the things you don't know, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm aware of it, right? Like I got banned from another forum this morning, right? For responding to criticism of myself.
Okay.
And that was described as being too negative.
Okay.
So I'm like, wait a minute.
Which forum did you get banned from?
The Educating Parent.
Oh, again.
I wasn't banned from that one.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
that's
just criticized. Okay.
I was just criticized before.
Okay.
But now, well, they cut off me posting. So what's the point? What is the point of being part of the forum? So
anyway, I don't because before, like historically, when there was very little tolerance of anything that wasn't common or usual, when it comes to whether we're talking about a race, skin color, or whether we're talking about the sexual orientation, people would get attacked or silenced, yada yada. But now when they've gained the strength and the social voice in the society, and they gain the support and everything, it's like it's turning backwards, and they're doing the same thing to people who don't agree with them, saying hate speech is not allowed. But it's not hate. In a lot of cases, like I was
what's next? You're going to ban love speech?
Yeah, I know.
It's insane.
I was a part of such discussion once, and there was like no hate speech, right?
You have to have the ability to offend people. You have to have that.
There would just be the facts. There would be no personal attacks. There would be no name calling, nothing. But they would be like, "Oh, this is full of hate. We're going to ban this thread." And I was like, why? Because somebody decided to express an opposite opinion to your opinion, right? Because somebody decided to express the fact that, I don't know, I think somebody said that heterosexual is still the norm because it's the majority, basically. It's the most common sexual orientation, right? And that was considered a hate speech because somebody took it, oh my gosh, it means that gays are not normal. Well, if you take the word normal and look at the definition in the dictionary, one of the definitions is common, right? The most prevalent. So it was just it's a hate speech. It's not hate speech. It's just stating a fact, which is not dismissing anybody, right? Which is not saying that somebody's more than somebody else or whatever. But it's becoming dangerous to not agree with the common opinion of the public.
Well, there isn't. The problem is there isn't really a common opinion, right? There's
Obviously.
what people tell you is common,
Okay.
which is different from what actually is common, because there's for example, the new Doctor Who character, which doesn't mean much to most of the planet, but if you're a fan of British science fiction, so the new Doctor Who character is a woman with rainbow tits.
What's that?
What's that? She wears a jumper with a big rainbow across her breasts, right?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. They're called breasts.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not tits.
No, it's that tits are the birds.
Oh, okay. So
we talked about that before.
I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize to all the birds.
Because I was wondering, there's a blue tit, there's like a great tit, but I've never seen a rainbow tit. I was wondering what kind of birds she has on her chest.
Well, she's got. Well, you know what the rainbow symbolizes, right?
Yes.
All the different colors of the world together,
yes.
except black and white, right, and
because black and white's in the colors.
Yeah, so it's a subconscious message, isn't it? And and if she doesn't turn out to be lesbian because it's trendy and fashionable and cool, or at least bisexual, or orientated that way, I will be extremely shocked, because the whole agenda is very much going into confusion. It's all about confusion. Once you get people in a confused state, you can manipulate them to do anything at all, because they're not sure where to stand. That's why when you have a firm grounding in some specific perspective, as religion gives people, it gives you a lot of strength. It gives you a lot of authority. It gives you a lot of courage. You see all the Muslims coming into Europe right now. They don't seem to be worried about anything at all, really, do they? I mean, they're pretty grounded in their religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
They are not afraid to say that, and they're not afraid to get in your face about it. And meanwhile, and that's the power and standing of having a specific perspective, not being open to absolutely everything at all. And did we talk about the Stefan Molyneux speech about that?
No.
He did. I can't remember what it was called. He's done this, like he started a introspective, reflective series where he talks about things that he experienced growing up and what he understands about them now. And one of them was, I can't remember the name of the video, but it was in the last couple of months he did it. And it was something about everything being okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when he grew up, there were no rules. That's what it was called. It was called No Rules. So when he grew up, there were no rules. Everything was okay. And he said that was just the end. Because you could do anything, you could go anywhere, you could try everything, and it was all okay. And he said that society just kind of self-destructed around about him. Said that's why there were no families, because not having a family was okay. It's fine. That's why everybody did drugs and fell into alcohol, because don't worry about it. It's all okay. That's why people couldn't have normal relationships, because it's all okay. There were no borders. There were no boundaries. There were no rules.
He didn't grow up with parents that would teach him about.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah,
about any moral code or anything.
But he's saying he didn't get it anywhere. He didn't get it from his parents. He didn't get it from society. He didn't get it from his teachers. It took him a long period of time of personal development and self-reflection to, almost 50 years to come to the conclusion of this no rules thing is not very good. And he's right.
I think whether you look at it, to me, okay, it doesn't matter whether you decide to support the LGBTI community completely, and you want, like, you want your children to grow up open to everyone, and to everybody's opinion, respectful of everybody's opinion, or whether you decide to teach them whatever moral values you consider to be important. Like Christians, for example, would probably teach maybe different moral values, right, of a traditional family. as long as you teach them moral values, right? And I think as long as you teach them the basics, that you don't hurt anybody else, you don't hurt yourself, you you teach them self-respect, and you teach them respect for others, then
no, see, there's a line in that which is not good, which is there is no point having respect for people who don't have respect for you. There's no value in that, right? I mean, you can say there's value in seeing the good in something, right? There's value in seeing the good in something that happens and benefits and whatever blossoms, right? But there is no point having respect for people. You need to not have respect for those people in order to make progress in your own life. Otherwise, you get caught in a no man's land of unable to make any really important decisions, because once again, it's all okay. It's all relative, it doesn't really matter, and that's nonsense.
Well, no. What I'm talking about is not, teach people that everything's okay or that it's all relative, because obviously it's not all relative.
Is it really dark today?
Yes, it is. It is quite dark. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't look dark on the video because I pumped up the contrast, but it's like it's the middle of the day and it's dark, like that's the end, right?
But for me, empathy, compassion, respect, but not only towards the other people, but mainly towards yourself. Because if you don't give those to yourself, you can't really give them to other people, can you?
Well, you're right. It doesn't make much sense giving it to other people and not to yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
So I think it doesn't matter that much about your opinions about or about your personal moral code. What's okay, what's not okay for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about just living together without attacking each other. I don't see why people have to attack each other, I mean, I understand if you're in some kind of really dangerous situation where somebody wants to kill you. You decide to.
Welcome to the Extremist Parenting Podcast.
And you decide to,
we haven't done an intro.
The best defense is the attack, and you go into a counter-attack thing. Then I could understand that, right? If I imagine that, but in your normal, usual, day-to-day existence, you can just.
Well, people forget, and this is hard, right? This is really, really hard. People forget that there are points and places in time where it's necessary to kill people. People forget that they live in a highly protected environment in the modern world, and they forget this.
Yes,
right?
but we're
that's
talking
why we
about
have armies. That's why we have police with guns. That's why we have citizens with guns, because the world at this moment in time is still a violent place, and if you take all the guns away, it's still going to be violent. That's not going to change anything at all.
Yeah,
I know. Change the tool they use.
I know that we are living in a very, very protected. Probably not safe, but protected, and kind of in a privileged way that we don't have to fight for our own lives, right? We've got other people fighting for that. Physically.
Yeah, do we? I'm not sure there's anyone fighting for me out there. I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, I pretty much think that what I have is what I've created. There's nobody else that's built up my world.
Yeah, nobody's coming to your house pointing a gun at your head right now, and
Well, the government is every day, because I have to pay them money to live here.
Yeah.
And if I don't pay them money, they put me in prison. So the government is doing that. You don't see it, but they've got people called police officers who, if I don't pay the money, they will. Although they'll do it in a sort of bylines, parallel way of,
Yeah,
you
I'm
know, they take you
talking.
to court
I'm
and then they put you
talking
in
about
court
what
for-
you talked about. That you don't have to go and physically kill people to survive, unless there's some kind of extreme situation where when you have to, because it can happen. But
well,
not
you
on
said you don't
everyday
have to,
basis. Okay, not
well,
like not
it's
like
rare.
when you live somewhere in the Middle East and grow up with a gun in your hand and
Yeah, or if you live in
Rastoka.
Detroit or Chicago, which are
Yeah.
apparently like two of the most dangerous places in the world right now.
Yeah. So
Or even New York is pretty dangerous. So, as one of our focuses is peaceful parenting, I think it's important to understand that we don't live in a peaceful world.
But that's why we should promote peaceful parenting more, because those who are not peaceful, those who are violent, are those that have had violence happen to them when they were children. They don't come from nice, harmonious families full of love and support.
The origins get it right. The origins of war.
The tangerines of war. I said origins.
Fruit salads. Fruit salads are a great idea, right?
The Origins of War.
In Childhood is a book.
Okay.
And it describes how all of this anger that comes out of adults, predominantly males, is the result of unprocessed abuse that they've received as children. And he pretty much presents, I haven't read the whole book, but it's narrated by Stefan Molyneux. And free online. And he basically goes through example after example after example of how this conflict as adults is just the result of unprocessed conflict.
Yes, there's, males with unprocessed conflicts if they have the environment to do so, I'm pretty sure that it will come out as a pretty brutal aggression. With females, I think they find, unfortunately, the output in parenting.
Well, I agree with that, because what this book discovered is that the majority of children, and by the majority, it's more than 80%, spend most of their childhood with females, as with the mother, with teachers, with other caregivers around about them. They spend most of their childhood with females, and these females are not doing anything to help the children process this anger that's inside of them. And not only that, they're getting away with it. Nobody is holding, as we say, holding their feet to the fire. Nobody is going to these groups and saying, "Hey, look, there's a big issue here. Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Where are the men? How many times have I pointed out, look at this, all about parenting. Where are the men? Here's a parenting presentation with 24 online presenters, and 2 of them are men and 22 are women, right?
Yeah.
So talk about an imbalance. I mean, what's that? 90 to 95%?
I know.
Right?
I was looking at my friends, how you asked me to find friends that we could talk to about parenting, and I couldn't find any male friends that I could really talk to about it, even though there probably are some in my friend groups. For example,
men are scared.
Bea, that we're going to talk to this evening, just to test things, said that she would like to talk to us together with her husband, because she said that they have differing views on parenting, and they would like to both kind of explore it together, if it's possible.
Yeah, I think that. I think it's a great idea to open up the discussion, because, look at anyone who looks at education and thinks that it's been successful is, I don't know, keep taking the pills, right? I got a white coat for you. So, and who's, who's responsible directly for the application of teaching? It's mostly women. Now, men get the administrative positions, which you can argue that that's maybe not such a good thing, that men are all in these administrative areas and that the women are leading the classroom. But you look at those, teachers on strike here, teachers on strike. It's all women out there in the streets protesting and complaining about things.
Mostly, yeah.
And I think that there's a need for a little bit more objectivism here, to say that let's believe that women have this. Let's just say that women have this power, that superpower that men don't have. This ability to communicate, this ability to connect with the children in a different way, and it needs to be used positively.
You saw me watching the discussion yesterday on my computer of the two psychiatrists. It was Dr. Joseph Hashdo and somebody else whose name I forgot. Sorry. Sorry, guy.
References.
Oh, yeah, I know. I should have written it down somewhere. But I didn't plan to talk about it. Anyway, so
did you link it on your Facebook page?
Sorry?
Did you link it on your Facebook page for people?
I don't know.
Was it?
I can't remember because it's an old thing. Maybe. Oh. Probably I have, but it was like I came to to see it about 3 weeks ago, so I can't remember if I linked it or not. Probably yes, though. And what were they saying? They were saying that if a woman grows up in an environment where she doesn't have an empathetic mother, right, then she doesn't, whether it's a girl or a boy, doesn't matter. But they were talking about mothers, about how they inherit basically the skills from generation to generation. They said if a woman grows up in an environment without an empathetic mother, then they just don't learn the skills of empathy. They said that the center in their brain literally dies, okay, and they are not good at empathy as adults. They don't say that they can't progress if they decide to, right? If they would go to therapy or if they start, working on themselves. But mostly, they are not capable of empathy.
Yeah. You see what happens there, right?
Yeah.
It's basically like not growing an arm.
Yeah.
You can't just stick a new arm on it and take the old one off as an adult. So
and not only the empathy center, but also the centers for recognizing emotions and regulating their own emotions. So you've got a combination, which is deadly, right? Because you've got unregulated emotions and you've got no empathy. So you're more likely to go, raging, spanking, yelling, or whatever, because you yourself are not regulated. So how can you teach it to the children, right? And then it just goes on and on and on. That is why there is so many parenting information out there, so much parenting information out there, because it is needed. Because if people don't learn these skills during their childhood, they have a huge problem learning them in their adulthood. And they need a lot of help.
Well, it's not only that they have a huge problem, it's that they can't. It often, I'm not saying that
that's not true, because
impossible,
the brain stays plastic. It loses brain loses the plasticity when you the more you grow up, the less plastic it is. But that's probably the word, right? Plasticity.
What? Elasticity.
Should it be?
I've heard the word plasticity.
I don't know in English language. It's used in Slovak language that way. Anyway, but it's still possible. The same way you can learn new information, right? Mm-hmm. Because your brain is still capable of creating new connections and creating new pathways. The same way you can, to a certain extent, undo what has been done. But it's probably not going to be, you're probably going to struggle a lot.
Yeah, well, my opinion about changing direction is that the distance that you traveled down the road before you realize you made a mistake and you need to change your direction. Well, you're going to have to travel all the way back. So like my perspective is that, if at the age of 30 you discover a problem, you've got 30 years there of backtracking to do. And the amount of, it's very hard to, it is possible. I mean, there are these kind of eureka moments where people realize things, but in general, the process of time cannot be sped up.
What I'm trying to say is not going to come natural, and it's not going to come automatic like it does to the people that learned it in the childhood. You will always have to check yourself. You will always have to, self-control. Think, okay, I've got this huge urge to yell right now, but I should not do that. I'm going to have to take some deep breaths. It's not going to come automatic like to people who learn it when they're kids. But you can still learn it, because that's what this is about, right? I mean, we wouldn't be doing a parenting podcast if all hope was lost.
We wouldn't. It's about what science calls nudges. So you know what a basic nudge is, right? A nudge is when you move somebody a little bit. Say you want them to.
You're not talking about the elbow hit from Muay Thai.
No, that's it's called an elbow to the face.
Okay.
Right. So imagine you're sitting next to someone, you want them to move over a bit. So that's a nudge, right? And so science has discovered that people very rarely complain about nudges, where they would complain about almost anything else happening. They very rarely complain about nudges. And so to move anything or anyone,
you have to nudge them.
You have to continually nudge them, basically. And if you continually nudge, you're doing it now, aren't you? If it works. Well, if you continually nudge, a lot of people eventually don't resist the first few times. Okay. Now you can.
Now I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah. So people resist the first few times, but usually eventually give up. The barrier breaks down because they're like, oh, whatever, okay. They give in. Now, of course, some people are more stubborn and hard-headed, and they stick to their guns, as they say. But if you use this process of nudges, that people's perspectives and their habits do actually change, but you can't expect it to change the first time. It requires like listening. I think it's you need to hear something 8 times or encounter something 8 times. Doesn't mean just hear it. You could read it, you could say it back to yourself, but you need to encounter it 8 times in order for it to manifest any change.
Is that why you always repeat things to me?
No, that's what you forget. But there's no point saying it 8 times, because that's just going to make you annoyed, frustrated, and angry. So there we go. No, you need a professional organizer. That's what you need.
Yeah, like in that film yesterday. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, I was almost gonna write a review of that and put it on the net, because you hit the nail on the head when you said about the main actress that you said it. You said I can't remember what you said, but
she didn't sell it.
Yeah, she was just not there, was she? She was just not there. It's not what you expect from someone who
in love or something.
Yeah, or someone in her position as an actress, right?
Cold. It was cold and impersonal in a way.
And I was thinking it was such a shame, because we're talking about the Christmas film.
We already started watching Christmas films. Yes, this is the confession time.
Oh no!
Yes, we already did. It's not even half November yet, and we started watching Christmas films.
Well, we ran out of
Halloween films.
Halloween films, and the fall harvest was done. So we got halfway through one film and just turned it off because
it was just boring.
It was. So we watched another boring one. No, but I was thinking that.
I mean, she was good. She was kind of good in Good Witch, right? And she had the.
Oh, that's her thing.
She did the romance thing quite well, but in this one, it was just there was no romance in it. There's no spark.
Well, there were all these close-ups of her face, which, looks like, I don't know, a plant pot, I think, was what I would
She
describe
doesn't
it.
look like a plant pot. She just doesn't have a very good haircut.
Yeah, well, the whole...
Look who's talking.
Yeah. Anyway, right. Moving
Well,
on.
if I was Catherine Bell, I could freaking probably afford to go to the hairdresser, which I can't right now.
Hairdressers are effing expensive.
I can.
They're more expensive.
Haircut.
Hairdressers are more expensive than me. That's ridiculous. I mean, you can have an hour and a half, or even 2 hours private consultation with all this development stuff, or you can get your hair cut. And most people choose to get their hair cut.
Yeah, I know.
That's insane.
Most people want to cut whatever grows on their head rather than growing whatever is in their head.
Yeah, well, as I stated in the last podcast, more time on this is less time on this, right? Where you look at the balance of things. So, yeah, I was thinking I was going to write a little review, because we've got this archive of Christmas films that we've collected over the years, and write a little review for each one and recommend it or not recommend it. And I was thinking it was such a shame, because it was kind of well filmed, and the other actors, the kids were great.
Good, and the guy actor was good.
Yeah, and then the female lead was just, you have to put more energy into it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, those kind of films about cheer and joy and happiness require something over the top.
I mean, the only point where you thought that she might maybe have some feelings towards the guy.
She looked like she was having a manic depressive breakdown.
Yeah, so when she was in her greenhouse looking at the stars, it was the only point where it was obvious that she might maybe have some feelings for the guy, but she didn't show any other. It's like me, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, let's get together.
Yeah, it was.
It's like, I'm not particularly in love with this guy.
Like minimalist acting is fine if you're doing some French noir 50s kind of thing, right? But when you're making a Christmas movie about all these positive emotional experiences, you have to be OTT.
But then she was a professional organizer. She was probably supposed to be.
Oh, that's how we got onto
kind
this.
of cold.
Professional organizers.
No?
Okay, that's yes.
I know.
I thought it was funny though, and they had everything at the kids' toys thing and the toy factory and all of those other ideas going on.
Yeah.
They just, I guess sometimes it just doesn't come together for people. So all of the ideas were there, but it just didn't quite all work out.
Yeah,
so,
didn't fit well.
So don't watch it. Talk about it, but. Don't watch it. Save your time.
You loved the professional organizer thing. Bet you would love to be married to one.
A professional organizer.
Can you imagine how organized your life would be?
Well, my only experiences are with a professional disorganizer. So I cannot. But I've been through that in my mind.
That really?
I've been through. What would my life be like if everything was organized? I've been through that in my mind. I've done that mental thought process.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are we getting divorced?
Well, the point is,
Yes.
apart from the fact that you can't get divorced until you get married, I was like going into the zone in my mind.
Yes.
And I couldn't
imagine that.
I couldn't. I just could not. It's like, what would it be like to have somebody organizing everything around about me and giving me the times and the dates for things, and saying, okay, we're going here at this point, this time, get ready and do this and have that organized. And no one in my life has ever been like that. which is probably why I'm like that, because I've never had anybody to help me with any of these organizations.
You know how this guy had his workshop, right? And his workshop was a huge mess, right? And
you thought it was
shut
you
up.
thought it was your workshop.
And they were like, they decided to leave it messy because it's like, okay, this place is the place for my creative process, right? I need it like this. Well, the thing is that this whole place is a place for my creative process, right? I'm creative in the kitchen. I'm creative with the kids. I'm constantly like 24/7 creative in slightly boring ways sometimes, but still, it's still a creative process. So there you go. This whole place is my workshop.
Yes, but just because you're creative doesn't mean you can't be organized. You see, I'm also creative, right?
Yes.
Yeah. With the work that I do requires creativity.
Mm-hmm.
The organization on the internet requires creativity and a lot of bad words and a lot of things that don't work. Right? But I can't work in a mess because people are relying on. Put that down. People are,
Put the cucumber down,
put the
lady.
put the cucumber down. I don't trust you with it.
Right.
So people are relying on me to be organized.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not, then they lose, and I lose because they're not going to want to be my clients anymore.
I'm organized with my business. You know, I know when my deadlines are. I know how many invoices I need to send, when I need to send them. I know when I should get paid. I know where my invoices are on my computer. I've got a folder that has current translations in it. I have a folder that has recent translations in it. I'm organized in my work.
Yeah, and how long did it take you to organize your actual desktop? TikTok,
About
TikTok,
2 years.
TikTok, TikTok, TikTok.
Well, you see, I'm a kind of like a bout person.
What, you get lots of diseases?
No.
You want the box?
I organize in bouts. I
I've never heard of this before.
make a mess. Then I have a bout of organization. Organize everything, and then slowly and
So I can say to you,
make a mess and make a mess and make a mess.
I can say to you, it's about time.
Yeah, it's about time for you to organize stuff. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then nothing will change.
Probably because it has to ripen. It has to ripen the organization thing.
Ripen?
Yeah.
Is it the wrong season?
Also, I'm usually most productive after I've handed in a translation or something.
You're most productive after you finished?
I'm also most productive. Yeah.
What?
When it comes to organization, I'm also most productive after I get paid. So people, please pay me on time.
Pay. What's
Yeah.
Did you say anything to Will today?
No. He's playing with his tablet.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I haven't.
You haven't seen him waving his arms.
Yeah, I haven't seen him waving his arms or dancing during the podcast.
No,
And I don't miss it at all.
I think he's maybe grown out of it.
Do you think it's maybe clicked and registered?
Mm-hmm. After saying it for about 150 times, yeah.
Nudges.
Nudges.
With a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to say that there's no point nudging somebody who doesn't want to move, though.
Oh, well, that's the point. There is.
Well,
that's the point. See, that's the point. There
when
is.
When we talk, in terms of parenting advice, right? If people don't know there's something wrong, then they will not want your advice. They will have no motivation to change anything. If they think that everything's okay and that's just how it works and that's just how it's supposed to be, then they are not going to take your advice. They're not going to move. They're not going to, that they don't want to be helped. Okay, and that's fine. They don't want to be helped. They don't want to be helped. You can't do anything. You can only help people who know that something's wrong. Something's not.
But you can only
okay.
help people that want to help themselves, because at the end of the day, they have to do it themselves.
You know, because sometimes you've got parents who spank their kids and feel that that's the way it should be, and that's the best thing to do, right? And then you've got parents who do it but feel bad about it, and you know, they listen to their conscience, that empathy center in there is not dead yet, and they realize that it's not a good thing, right? And they are more open to listen to or to learn different tools to work with their kids. You know, they're open to learn how to communicate rather than how to instill their power and control.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, how far down the road society really is in terms of aspects of good parenting. I wonder if there's not just like a big social push there is a big social push for people just not to be parents at all. There's a big social push for, don't worry, have fun, we'll take care of your kids.
I would like to say that it's going the right direction, because I can see a lot of people wanting to get better, or you know, making small steps generation to generation to get better. But I think that one consequence of people talking more about attachment parenting, talking more about peaceful parenting, is distancing the groups of parents apart from each other. You know, the connection parents on one side and the disconnected parents on the other. I feel that it puts parents more into opposition, and there is.
I think it causes conflict.
I think it causes conflict. I think it causes some kind of hostility among the groups of parents, because connection parents tend to be judgmental towards the parenting practice of the disconnected parents, and the disconnected parents tends to say, you know, your way doesn't work, and you're gonna have spoiled brats for children. So,
well, here's the weird contradiction, right? Those bad parents who don't care about how their kids grow up, very often the kids disconnect themselves from those bad parents and find different ways of doing things. Not always. You don't want to leave it to chance like that, because that's not really a very good plan to leave it to chance. But it's an odd contradiction about there is still a way out for kids who don't have or receive the right kind of parenting.
You know, it's a very interesting topic, because I have never come across an information in the scientific literature about what makes one react in a certain way to a difficult situation, right? Like you can have kids that grow up in the same type of you know, abusive environment, but one group is going to turn into criminals, and the other group will say, I want to outgrown this, and it will basically push them further.
It's the power of choice. That's what makes a difference.
Yes, but how do those kids make that choice? Because you make that choice as a child. It doesn't come when you're an adult. It's a series of choices that you make through your life that either pushes you.
Well, you know how
into the
some
ditch,
decisions are more important than others, but they're still decisions at the end of the day.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just my question is, what makes them make those decisions?
I think a lot of the time it's down, I wouldn't say not to luck, but to chance. And by that, you're not leaving it alone, but there are certain circumstances that exist. Like I said, it doesn't matter whether you're choosing to buy this milk or that milk, or to take this road or that road. or to drink or not drink.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those decisions have bigger effects, although the decision to make the decision is only momentary
Yeah,
and short.
I understand.
But the consequences of the decision, so the processes of the decision are exactly the same,
Mm-hmm.
but the consequences of the decision really vary.
Mm-hmm.
And most people, self included, are not aware of all the consequences of all the decisions that they make.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's what I would call the car accident complex. How could we have avoided that car accident? Right? It's like, well, okay, if we hadn't got out of bed this morning, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of subconscious decisions as
well,
well that go on, and
there's a lot
you're
of,
not even aware of
there's,
making them. So.
There's, yes, you can take all the necessary precautions,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, science has tried to over scientify. What's the word?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, they've tried to over science
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that. Let's control genetic development, and let's breed super people, and none of that worked, because there are unknowns
Mm-hmm.
in everything. But quality in decision making, every choice, every decision is important, but the consequences of each decision weigh differently, but that doesn't change the decision
Mm-hmm.
that you have to make. Like you know, the consequences of going to this pub and having a beer, or going to that pub and having a beer, it's just a decision like any other decision. Who knows what other consequences will be from that? Who knows who you will meet, where you will go, what will happen?
Yeah,
right?
I know, I get it.
So I think the quality in choices,
Mm-hmm.
quality in decisions regularly is what is important, rather than searching for some kind of one kind of magic solution. There's not one magic solution. There are choices and decisions and choices and decisions.
Might be chance as well. Maybe the people that they've met outside of their family, and whatever conversations they've had when they were kids, or I don't know, books they have read, or who knows.
Well, I'll tell you what's
Everything
crazy about
influences.
books, and then we have to close it all down, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's crazy about books is I've read so many books,
Mm-hmm.
most of them when I was younger because I had more time.
Mm-hmm.
You ask me to tell you what's in the book?
You don't remember.
I don't remember at all. But I know I read the books. And so it's in there somewhere.
Uh-huh.
But you asked me to, like, I read Turgenev's Fathers and Sons.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the book.
Mm-hmm.
But ask me to tell you about it right now, I couldn't.
I know, I've got the same thing. Yeah, but some books. I know how I felt when I read the book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember the feeling and the excitement and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the atmosphere in the book,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't tell you what happened. Okay, the storyline,
Mm-hmm.
that would just be all over the place.
Okay, so we almost got to the first question. We almost got to the first question, but we didn't, as usual. Never mind, we covered a lot of things that were extremely important. And we've got more coming up as well this week and next week. If you'd like, we're over here. If you'd like,
Sorry, I was just looking outside because now I have to, after we finish, I have to go out in the cold with the kids.
It's dark and stark
I just really
out
don't want to. I really don't want to.
And
The kids need
rainy,
the exercise, so.
They do. If you want more information about what we do, the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching, online and on Facebook. I just purged my Facebook page. So if you want to reconnect, do it. This is the 21st Century Mom.
Spell MUM.
MUM. And you can visit her webpage. You can visit her on Facebook, and you can pick up our weekly parenting email as
Yes,
well.
yes,
That's
yes,
it.
you can.
We're moving on because we've got lots of things to do. We're done for today. Thank you very much for paying attention. And if you've got any questions, leave them for us and let us know. So
Yes.
when I can find the off button, the stop button. Where is it?
Stop
There we
it.
go.
Stop it.
Where's the arrow
Stop
going?
it. Down there.
Okay, good. Say bye to everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Never know where to put my hands.